Hey everybody, my name is Kelvin and welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to build a simple but complete ETL pipeline in Python. We'll pull live cryptocurrency data from an API, transform it into something more useful, and then load it into a database. ETL pipelines like this are used everywhere in data engineering, from finance to e-commerce, and this example will give you a great starting point. Before we dive into the code, let's quickly talk about what ETL means. Extract means grabbing raw data from somewhere. That could be a CSV file, an API like the one we'll use today, or even another database. Transform is where we clean the data, fix it up, calculate new values, or get it into a format that makes sense to our business stakeholders. Load is taking that cleaned data and saving it into a permanent place, that usually being a database or a warehouse, so other people or tools can use it. That's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to extract data using an API, transform using Python, and then finally load our data into an SQLite database. Before we jump into the pipeline, let's talk about the imports we need. These are the tools we need to build our ETL pipeline. Request is the library that lets Python talk to the internet. We'll use it to send a request to the CoinGecko API and download live crypto prices. Pandas is a data analysis library. It's really good at handling tabular data like spreadsheets or tables, and we'll use it in the transform step to clean up and organize the crypto data into a nice pandas data frame. SQL Alchemy is our bridge to databases. The create engine function will let Python create and talk to a SQLite database file. That's how we'll load our transformed data into storage. Finally, datetime lets us grab the current date and time. Each time we pull crypto prices, we'll add our own timestamp so we know exactly when that data was collected. Let's start with the extraction step in the ETL pipeline. We set up a URL for the CoinGecko API. Here, I'm just going to be using the /simple/price endpoint. This endpoint lets us ask for the current prices of cryptocurrencies. Then, inside the params dictionary, I'm telling the API which coins I want, which in this case, Bitcoin and Ethereum, and the fiat currencies that we're interested in, that being USD, Euros, and GBP. We use request.get to make the API call, passing in the URL and parameters. Then, we'll call .json on the response to turn the raw JSON into a Python dictionary. Let's print it out. As you can see, we can get back a simple dictionary with Bitcoin and Ethereum and their values in the different currencies that we specified. That's our raw extracted data, and that concludes the extraction step in the ETL pipeline. Now, let's move on to the transformation stage. The API gave us prices in USD, EUR, and GBP, but since we're in the US, let's drop the extra currencies and just keep the USD. To make it easier to work with, I'll load the data into a pandas data frame. Each time we run this, I'll also add a timestamp so we know exactly when the data was pulled. From there, we can add some extra transformations to make the data a bit more interesting to us. We're going to add a Bitcoin to Ethereum ratio, which tells us how many Ethereum one Bitcoin is worth. We'll add the raw difference in price between Bitcoin and Ethereum. We'll add the average price between the two for demonstration. And finally, we'll add a simple flag that marks whether Bitcoin is over $50,000. This is an example of a Boolean feature. Let's run this and let's take a look at the transformed data frame. Now the data is structured, readable, and enhanced with a few calculated fields. That's exactly the type of cleanup step that you do in a real pipeline. Finally, let's move on to the load step in the ETL pipeline. We're going to use SQLite for this demo. It's a lightweight, file-based database that's great for small projects because you don't need to install the server or configure anything. We create a connection with create engine from SQL Alchemy, pointing it to a file called CryptoDB. Then we call toSQL on our data frame, telling pandas to append this data into a table called crypto prices. If the table doesn't exist yet, pandas will create it automatically. Over time, as we rerun this pipeline, we'll build up a history of prices. Let's quickly verify that it worked. We'll query the database with a simple SQL statement. Select everything from crypto prices, ordered by timestamp. Then we print out the results. Since I've run this model a few times already, our current data is stored in the database along with older rows, which verifies our load step. Our transformed data is safely stored in the database, ready to be used later for analytics, dashboards, or machine learning models. So, to recap, we just built an ETL pipeline in Python. We extracted live crypto data from the CoinGecko API, transformed it with Pythons to add useful features, and loaded it into a SQL-like database. This example is small, but the pattern is the same whether you're dealing with stock data, web analytics, or millions of other rows in a big data warehouse. If you found this helpful, don't forget to like and subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you'd like to build next. Thanks for watching.